Mr. President.
Where is she? Oh, Senator from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to call out the threat that this Republican budget and the Trump administration poses to Social Security. President Trump and Elon Musk's move fast and break things mentality is breaking Social Security. And it is obvious that they intend to dismantle Social Security, which will hurt the millions of Americans that rely on it, that count on it, including more than 1 million Minnesotans. Now, one thing that I have learned over the last 70-some plus days is to believe these guys when they tell us what they mean to do. So when Musk recently called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time, I'm sure that he meant it. And when he said entitlement spending is, and I quote, the big one to eliminate, I believe him. And then you have Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who recently said that if his 94-year-old mother-in-law happened to not receive her Social Security check in 1 month, she'd just wait for the next one.
Welcome back to Right View Nation, patriots. This is American Resolve, where truth meets courage, and we break through the noise with common sense, faith, and freedom. Today, we're responding to a speech from Senator Tina Smith. You know, the one from Minnesota who's out here claiming Republicans want to dismantle Social Security. Yep, that's the headline the mainstream media is pushing. Let's dive into this.
Well, I have news for Secretary Lutnick. When people don't get their Social Security checks, they aren't just waiting for the next check, they could be waiting for their next meal. Secretary Lutnick is clearly not in touch with the reality that 22 million Americans, including more than 16 million seniors, would be living in poverty were it not for Social Security. They don't have bank accounts millions sitting in a bank account somewhere. They have a food shelf visit or missed rent or rationing their prescription medication ahead of them. So this is not just an inconvenience or a hassle for them. It is their security, their dignity, their health, and their well-being. And, you know, it's not just Musk and Lutnick that are out of touch. Acting Social Security Commissioner Leland Dudnick threatened to shut down the entire agency in a fit after a federal judge informed him that DOJ is not allowed to root around in people's personal data. And Frank Bisignano, a billionaire that is President Trump's pick to run the Social Security Administration, he has said that he is a DOJ person, and I believe him. And this is evidently just fine with Senate Republicans on the Finance Committee who all voted for him. And I have no doubt that the rest of the Republicans in the Senate will too, because they seem unwilling or unable to stand up to Donald Trump. I think they're just scared. Now, President Trump understands that Americans love Social Security, and so he says, don't worry, my administration won't touch it. Come on now. Americans understand. We can see what's happening. And as my mother used to say, I wasn't born yesterday. We can see that President Trump and Elon Musk are crippling Social Security by making it nearly impossible for people to get their benefits. They are closing field offices at the same time that they're limiting phone service. They're gutting the agency and firing the employees that make Social Security work. In Alexandria, Minnesota, for example, they've fired half the staff. In Rochester, Minnesota, they've fired 40% of the staff. Since Donald Trump took office, the number of calls for help with Social Security into my office has more than doubled compared to what it was in the same time frame last year. So my constituents are spending hours and hours on hold and waiting for office appointments. And every time they get a message from Social Security, it's a different story. And it's confusing, and it is more than irritating. It's downright scary to them. Now, you can call this rank incompetence or the don't know, don't care attitude of this administration, but what it looks like to me is sabotage. If Republicans are trying to save Social Security, this is a pretty funny way to go about it. And now tonight, they're going to try and pass a budget resolution that relies on so-called cost savings from firing Social Security employees to help pay for trillions of dollars of tax breaks for billionaires and big corporations. There's talk about rooting out waste and fraud, and I mean, I'm all for that. But understand, this agency already spends less than 1% on administrative overhead, which is far lower than the administrative costs typically paid by private insurers. So when they say cutting costs, what that really means is that when a senior picks up the phone looking for assistance, there's not going to be anyone on the other end of the line. They talk about getting at fraud. Well, listen to this. The Office of the Inspector General conducted a report in 2024 which found that less than 1% of Social Security payments were improper. Less than 1%. You know, if the Social Security Administration was a private sector company, those numbers would put its competitors to shame. What's really happening here is that they are trying to make it harder for people to get what they are owed. And that is, in fact, a cut, and it is wrong. Now, I think that Americans can see what's happening. Donald Trump has surrounded himself with billionaires who don't know and really don't care about regular people who are just trying to afford their lives. They can't even imagine trying to live on $2,000 a month, which is the average benefit for a retiree in Minnesota. I mean, they probably spend more than that on lunch. This is not what we need in this country. We need this government to answer to the people, not the billionaires. We don't need more tax breaks for the wealthiest and most successful people who are doing just fine. Thank you very much. What we need to do is to make Social Security work better for people who have worked hard all their lives, paid in, and deserve a secure retirement. My office, Mr. President, has also received tens of thousands of messages from Minnesotans, and they want us to protect and to strengthen Social Security, not tear it down. And so that's what I'm going to do. Social Security is a universal benefit, and it is a promise that we have made to each other that after a lifetime of hard work, you won't have to worry about a safe, decent, affordable place to call home, a good meal to eat, and the time and the space to enjoy your life. And when this budget resolution gets a vote later tonight, I'll be thinking about Social Security and about the 73 million Americans who count on it, and I will be a hard no. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Senator from Oregon.
So Tina Smith gets up on the Senate floor and claims the Republican budget is some kind of threat to Social Security. Why? Because it includes accountability, efficiency, and yes, some tough conversations about entitlement spending. She says Trump and Elon Musk are trying to destroy the program. Really? Or are they just willing to ask the hard questions that Democrats are too scared to even whisper? Look, Social Security is important. It's a promise we've made to retirees. But what Tina Smith doesn't want to tell you is that the program is heading toward insolvency. The Social Security trustees themselves project the trust fund will run out of money by the mid-2030s. That's not fear-mongering. That's math. Now let's talk about the Elon Musk boogeyman. Tina Smith says he called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. Well, if the shoe fits, what else would you call a system that takes money from current workers to pay retirees while making promises to the future that it can't keep? That's not sustainable. That's not even smart economics. Elon Musk is one of the most successful innovators of our time. He's pushing boundaries in tech, space, and energy. And if he's raising a red flag about how the government runs money, maybe we should listen instead of whining about his tone. Senator Smith takes offense to any suggestion that entitlement spending should be reviewed. She acts like just saying the word cut is a crime against humanity. But guess what? Every responsible household in America makes cuts when the budget doesn't add up. Why is it suddenly outrageous when we expect our federal government to do the same? We're $34 trillion in debt. Inflation is crushing working families. And yet Tina Smith's solution is to throw more money at a broken system without fixing it. That's not compassion. That's cowardice. Smith complains that field offices are closing, staff are being fired, and that people are waiting on hold. And she blames Republicans for this? Let me remind her, who locked down this country, shut down offices, and created massive staffing shortages? That's right, Democrats. Blue state governors, union bureaucrats. That chaos wasn't caused by the free market or conservative budgeting. It was caused by the same big government ideology she's defending. And let's be real, The federal government is notorious for inefficiency. Republicans aren't trying to gut Social Security. We're trying to streamline it, make it work for the people who actually paid into it, not for lazy bureaucrats and wasteful spending. Tina brings up this Inspector General report that says fraud is less than 1%. That's great, if true. But fraud is just part of the story. Waste, mismanagement, overlapping benefits, those numbers don't even show up in that report. You can have a low fraud rate and still be inefficient. And let's not forget the scare tactics. She's out here saying seniors will be starving if Republicans tweak the program. That's emotional manipulation. No Republican is saying, let's cancel checks. We're saying, let's fix this before it collapses under its own weight. Now here comes the classic leftist trick. Blame billionaires. She says Trump surrounds himself with billionaires who don't know how regular people live. Well, here's a truth bomb. Billionaires create jobs. They invest. They drive innovation. What has Tina Smith built? What wealth has she created? What problems has she solved? Demonizing success doesn't help retirees. It just divides America. And that's exactly what the radical left wants, to pit us against each other while they grow the government and shrink your freedom. We don't want to dismantle Social Security. We want to save it for our kids and grandkids. That means raising the retirement age gradually, means testing for the wealthiest, giving people the option to invest in private accounts. Is that radical? No, that's realistic, because you can't run a 21st century nation with a 1935 retirement model. Senator Smith might mean well, but her speech is full of fear, fiction, and finger-pointing. We can't fix Social Security by pretending it's untouchable, and we definitely can't fix it by handing more control to DC elites and woke appointees who think the American people work for them. Patriots, it's time to speak up. Contact your representatives, demand reform with responsibility, and remind them government works for us, not the other way around. Thanks for watching American Resolve. If you believe in truth, accountability, and protecting America's future, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more bold, common-sense commentary. Until next time, stay free, stay strong, and God bless the United States of America.